Hello to all. Greetings, Mr. Nitin. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me over, guys.
Of course. So, everyone, we now have our second speaker of the day with us, Mr. Nitin Jain. A very warm welcome to the event, sir. He is the co-founder on course Vantage Nitin. Nitin sir completed his undergraduate studies in economics from SRCC and his MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. So he started his career in investment banking, but then moved on to education. The perfect example of how you need to pursue your passion. So he has over 23 years of experience in the education and counseling industry. He's worked with many students for their college applications over the years. And sir, I would just like to thank you for providing us your valuable time today. We're delighted to have you with us.
Likewise, here, excited to meet all the students and the parents. So really excited to have this.
Yes, sir. So we'll just wait for 2 minutes
Sure.
and then we can start. So till then, I'd just like to ask you, sir. Our audience is here for De-Stress Me, and we just want to ask you how you connect with teenagers. So your connection with teenagers and what's so special about that?
So I've been working with teenagers over the last, I want to say, 25 years now in various capacities. I think it's fascinating to see the fact that how much more maturity they have been able to capture over the many years. So contrary to a lot of people's belief that given the whole technology interface, students are actually becoming jaded, etc., I feel they're becoming far more interesting, far more mature. They're understanding the implications of their actions across various things. So as far as I'm concerned, teenagers are make me feel young when I work with them, and they add a lot of value. Their thinking process is also fairly exciting. So I'm quite excited over the next many years to continue to work with teenagers.
So, sir, I think I really resonate with your words, but I noticed that teenagers make you feel younger. So many of the professionals that we've been talking to, they've used this phrase continuously. So, how do you feel younger when working with teenagers? Is it their ideas, their youth, their innovation? What is
So
it?
I think first and foremost, under a lot of cases, and I don't think for all, but many cases, their energy is infectious. I think just their enthusiasm, the energy making you to push harder is one thing. Of course, their thought process are out of the box, right? So if we are used to a certain conditioned way of thinking, right, versus getting them to sort of actually look at new innovative thought process and sometimes challenges the often conformed sort of thought process. So that's something that I find helps us a lot to work with them, and those are the kind of things that I really like. They add value and actually make us feel younger.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. Now we can move on to your presentation, please.
Okay, sure. So what I'm going to do is, do I have sharing rights?
Yes, sir. I think I'll just give you the
Okay,
rights.
cool.
Yes, sir. So you're already the co-host.
Okay, sure. So just some ground rules before I start. In terms of anybody has any questions, I'm guessing you guys are also on mute and video off. So would request you if you can put in all your queries, questions on the chat box. I'll try and take them up towards the end. Otherwise, I'll lose the flow. So you could either sort of put your questions and put them only in the end at the end of the presentation, or you can drop it on the chat and I'll address it as we go along. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sure. So I'm going to get started. Quick round of introduction, guys, and thank you, Team De-Stress, to actually call us here. One second. I'm just okay. So my name is Nitin. As you said, I co-founded OnCourse about 11 years back and have been working with high school students for their college applications, profile building, assistance, and deciding which college to choose over many years. We met with great amount of success over years and have worked with enough students who got into IVs and some of the top schools. However, this is not about that. This presentation is going to focus essentially on two main attributes today, which is what do colleges look for you, in terms of what is it that colleges look for in selecting a student, and what should you be looking for in selecting a college? So I think the focus of today's discussion is going to be limited to these two aspects. And of course, we dive deeper into each of those. So let's start off with what is it that colleges in different countries look for. So I'm going to start with US and then come to the other countries, pretty much because US is like a master set and everything else follows as a part of that, right? So the US colleges, we have a broad sort of thumb rule that they kind of look at, which is a 50-30-20 rule, right? Like what really is that rule? Basically, 50% of your application success is based on the academic index. So when I say academic index, we are looking at your scores in academics from grade 9 to 12. Therefore, it's important for students to understand that pretty much from grade 9 starting, you are sort of in that zone where they're looking at it. 11th grade is, simply speaking, the most important year in your college admissions journey. There are various reasons for that, but largely because this is the last completed year that colleges have to see, in terms of your academic grades, because 12th grade works only on a predicted score. 3 months you get first term scores. So 11th grade is the real score that will show up as the most important attribute, right? Clearly, the colleges want to catch you at your peak, and therefore that upward sloping curve is important. The two other important considerations are your class rank and course rigor. So class rank, most schools in India don't give out a rank. However, it's important for you to know that when your school counselor is going to give your letters of recommendation, or your subject teachers, they're also going to give you, is this student in the top 5%, 10%, etc.? Where is he vis-a-vis the rest of the class? Similarly, the course rigor reflects, have you taken the easy courses or the hard courses? How have you balanced the academic mix within the subject curriculum that you've taken, right? So let's believe that 50%, or the single most important criteria for US admissions, is your grades, your academics. Moving on to the 30%. Now, this is what is called standardized testing. Some of you might already be aware of this. These are things what we call as, SAT or ACT. Some of you might have heard that. Basically, the purpose for the standardized test is as follows, that while your academics are being measured, but there are different students applying to those same colleges from different countries, different academic boards. Somebody's an IB kid, somebody's a CBSE kid, somebody's applying from China, somebody's applying from Mexico. The easiest way for colleges to look and compare that is by giving them the same test, which could be the SAT or the ACT. This is not a forum to go in the difference of the two, but what I think is important for you to recognize that you can take either of those two tests. You should actually try and take a diagnostic test at the end of 10th grade, beginning of 11th grade, to determine which test suits you more, because your mental faculties are slight bit of difference in the testing styles of this. I'm sure, Shinja and Ashish are going to talk about SAT prep in greater detail, and they are quite proficient in the work that they do in terms of understanding the differences, and they'll define the template for you. But I think you should understand that standardized testing is extremely critical, and colleges look for that. The younger kids must remember that in 9th and 10th, they should do skill building for this already by starting to read, write, take the PSAT, do different genres of reading, stuff like that. So this is 30%. So together, we've already done the 80%, okay? The balance 20% of what your admission rubric will look like will be based on what we at OnCourse call as the standout factor, or what is it that you have done that sets you apart from the rest of the people from your school, city, country, etc. And it rests on 3 key buckets, right? So there is academic stroke career bucket, passion bucket, and community service. What are each of them? I'm going to quickly define them for you. So academic stroke career reflects on what have you done outside the classroom that has helped you validate your interest in what you may want to study in college, right? So have you done any research papers, any online courses, summer programs, internships, things that have helped you decide, okay, I wanted to study computer science, so I built an app, I coded, I learned 2 new languages, and I did a research paper in, let's say, any machine learning bit that demonstrates to them the fact that you're deeply curious about your subject choice and you did a slew of activities to sort of validate that. So that is one key bucket. The other is passion, which is literally, it could be anything from art, music, theater, sports. The college just wants an interesting person who will add something to the student body. And they are really looking for somebody who's not just done this for college applications, but has had contiguity of effort in taking this up for a longer period of time and has thus managed to create some impact, right? It does not matter. It does not require you to necessarily have awards and, accolades, and you've done Trinity grade 8 necessarily. It's as much okay if you've actually done a lot of interesting work over many years, and that's what counts, right? The third bucket is community service. Here again, it's often misunderstood to believe that you can go and volunteer in an NGO and then you're catching the next flight to the US. I promise you that's not what colleges are looking for. What colleges are seeking out essentially is in your ability to identify a problem that the community is facing and how you attempted to solve that problem. Now, community for this purpose does not have to be underprivileged, right? It can be your fellow classmates, it can be senior citizens, it can be a community of animals whom you're trying to help. Just like De-Stress Me is another such initiative, I feel, which is trying to work with teenagers to help them through mental wellness, for example. So there's Teens for Teens also who's doing that. Somebody has started music therapy for chronic patients, right? So there are different things that you can do, which sort of shows as much your leadership skills, initiative, problem solving, and analytical skill. So the whole idea really is that they want a person who's engaged with the community, is very clear on what kind of academic career choices they've made, and follows passion consistently. So if I could summarize the 50-30-20 rule again, it boils down to treat the 50 and 30, which is your academics and SAT, together to be like your passport to go. And the balance 20%, call it your visa, right? You know what happens, guys, if you don't have a passport. But if you're applying to a very top school, all kids have a 40 IB, all kids have a 1500 SAT or a 34 ACT. What really sets them apart is all the other activities along with your essays, letters of recommendations, and your form itself, which is what defines you. So that's the whole play of what US colleges look for, right? I'm going to very quickly cover the other countries and not spend so much time. As you look at Canada is a straight 80-20. 80% is your grades. They look at 9th to 12th, more like 10th to 12th. 20% is all the activities that you've done. It may be represented there differently, but they don't necessarily need the SAT, but it helps if you have a good score. You can always submit it to them. UK, Hong Kong, Singapore, on the other hand, are even more skewed towards your academics. So it's a 90-10 mix where 90% is looking at your 10th and 12th predicted scores, and 10% is based on what is a statement of purpose, which basically defines why do you want to study that particular course. This again stems from your career validations like we discussed, which is essentially, oh, I did this internship, I did this project, and I did this, which is kind of helping me decide that I want to pursue a computer science major. So that's what colleges really look for in different countries. And now we can move on to, okay, Ashoka also, some people have shown interest in India in Ashoka. Ashoka follows a more sort of holistic admission process where they look at pretty much like the US. So they look at your SAT, your academic index, your profile, extracurricular activities. They have an on-the-spot essay and interview, and your letters of recommendation. So if you're preparing to go to the US, Ashoka also gets factored in the same way. So that's what colleges look for in a student if you're looking to study abroad, right? Now we'll move gear and spend time on factors you should consider in selecting a college. So more like what is it that you should look for in a college rather than what the colleges are looking for in you. I'm going to stop the share for a minute. If there are any queries for the first part of what we have discussed, I'm happy to take on any questions that you could put in the chat box if you guys have anything. Otherwise, we'll move on.
Yes, so I think our audience can just put down any questions that they have in the chat, and we'll unmute them.
You could actually just put in the question in the chat, and I'll try and read out from there for everyone so that it'll just become easier. Anyone has any questions so far?
So, if anyone else doesn't have a question, sir, I'd like to ask you.
So
So,
I have a question. Just wait one sec. So somebody's asked, is it wise to take the PSAT in grade 8? I think the PSAT, the right time to start is grade 9, because that's when they start building scholastic aptitude abilities. And it would be a good idea to sort of look to take it in grade 9 as a starting point. Yeah.
yes, sir. So, if we look specifically at Ivy League universities, what is their expectation from their students mostly?
So I think first and foremost, to be able to get the cut for the filter, you need to be in the top 1% of the class. So clearly you need to look at a scenario where you are, if you're an IB kid, you're in that 40 to 42 out of 42 kind of a zone. You're upwards of a 1550 or a 35 on the ACT as a starting point. Then a lot of activities like we discussed, but they are looking for somebody who's really a rainmaker, who's going to do some change making activities. They have done strong leadership related work, and also great initiative on career related. So if you are applying for a computer science, what kind of work you've done. Basically, they want stellar letters of recommendation from your school. So therefore, you should literally be shining in school and have impacted the community in a meaningful way. So all of those activities, but literally something very tangible, right? Like, so we had a admit who went to Stanford, for example, last year. He'd started a company where he helped almost 70 to 80 specially abled people get a job with organizations like Lemon Tree, Chayos, by making video resumes and creating a platform where students would sort of, where these people could come in, upload their video resume, and companies could hire them. He also got the Pradhan Mantri Bal Puraskar, which was awarded by the Prime Minister. So, and then he got into Stanford. So that's typically the profile. Of course, he had a 35 ACT and stellar grades, head boy of a school and stuff like that.
Great,
Somebody's
sir. Thank
asked
you.
what is an ideal SAT score. So this is, while I'm tempted to say as close to a 1600 as possible, but I think the real answer lies in a parity to your academics. Let me address this. So let's say if you are an academic student who's a 34 on 42 in IB, or let's say a 85 percenter, then even if you have a 1400, that's a par and a good score, because that sort of gives you a parity between your academics and standardized testing, right? But if you're a student who's a 40 IB or a 95%, then I'm not going to be happy with the 1400. Then you should be closer to a 1520, 1530, right? So that, because colleges will view it in relation to your academic scores also. So that's the ideal SAT score. Should we move on then?
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for your insightful responses.
Okay, cool. So I'll move on to what are the factors you should consider in selecting a college. And I've enlisted about 7 points which sort of fit in terms of what you should be looking out for. I'll try and address each of them before and we move on and sort of then take on questions. So one is, you should pay close heed to what is the structure of education prevalent in each of those colleges or countries that you are seeking, right? And how will that map to what you are looking for? So let me give you an example. Let's say if you're looking at US, you need to understand what is the system or the structure of education, and I'll give you some insights into that and compare it with Canada and other countries. So US offers 3 broad systems of education, which is liberal arts, business, and engineering. Now, what is exactly each of them? In an ordinary format, I would have asked some of you, but let me sort of take the liberty to answer. Liberal arts basically comes from the word liberty, freedom, independence, which means the freedom to choose what you want to study. A lot of people confuse it to be a humanities-oriented course. That is incorrect. Liberal arts is a short form of liberal arts and sciences. So for the first 2 years out of your 4 years, you go through a range of about 100 odd courses spanning from pure sciences like physics, chemistry, biology, computer science, maths, pure humanities like English language, literature, few other languages, maybe creative writing, theater, performing arts, or social sciences like economics, psychology, international relations. You can take different classes in any discipline as you deem fit. And only in third year do you need to declare your major, right? So what it does is it gives you more time to validate your interests and be sure as to what you want to do. And also, having done a bunch of different classes, keeping a very close watch on where the industry trends are also going. to be able to give you a sense of where the jobs are and maneuver your specialization towards there, right? That's the beauty of the US liberal arts system. Similarly, for business, either you could directly get into business and do a 4-year business course with 1 year as foundation, but most US colleges also give you the option of using the indirect route where for the first 2 years, you would actually go through liberal arts. And then in third year, if you're interested, you can move to business school within the same university, right? So it's again harping on enough flexibility for a 17, 18-year-old doesn't really know what they may want to do. And that's the options you get. Engineering is pretty much the same everywhere, where the only flexibility you have is in the discipline, whether you're mechanical engineering, computer engineering, civil engineering is something you can choose in second year, right? Keeping this in mind, we must understand the US is the most flexible system, and it is hinging on flexibility and interdisciplinary knowledge as two main pivots on which you can decide your college choice. So if you are a kind of student who doesn't really know what they want to do, they want to explore more interest, guess what? US liberal arts program is meant for you. In contrast to, let's say, UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, or even India, where not only do you need to know what discipline you want to do, within that, the narrowed down version also. So for example, in UK, if you want to do engineering, you must know whether you want to do mechanical engineering, and that's all that you will do for the next 3 or 4 years, right? Same is the case in Singapore, Hong Kong also. Keeping this in mind, it is important for you to know what is it that you are seeking in terms of structure, and then choose your colleges accordingly, right? Canada is a somewhat middle path between the two. So what Canada does is it gives you vertical silos or compartments. Let's say sciences, social sciences, business, engineering. Now, within each of these vertical compartments, there is ample flexibility, right? So if you choose sciences, whether you want to study physics, chemistry, or computer science, you can do any of that, but you can't do physics and philosophy in the same breath what you can do in the US, for example, right? So the structure of education and mapping it to what you are looking at is one of the most important variables that you should use in selecting a college. Is that okay? The second part is your eligibility. I think it's important to map what is, before you try and get into any country, what is it that that country or that college is looking at, and then making your mind up, right? Like I'll address this slightly more. So one is standardized testing. So for example, almost all US colleges till last year, and only because of COVID, have made it test optional, but compulsorily required the SAT, right? Now, let's say if you do not have a good score on it, or you've not taken it, that renders you ineligible, then you rather concentrate on other countries where those options may not exist. This is just one of the eligibility format. The second bit is the prerequisites of what you have done as not being fulfilled, what the college is looking for. I'll give you an example. Let's say if you want to study engineering in Canada, right? They must compulsorily require you to have done 2 sciences in school, which is not the case in US. So in that case, if you've taken the SAT and you've only got physics and IB along with maths, and you can pursue engineering in US, but you can't do it in Canada. Similarly, for students who have the maths AAHL versus AIHL versus AISL, that prerequisite may render them ineligible for a lot of courses in either UK or Canada. So we must be mindful before we select a college, where are we eligible for to apply? And that's something that requires sort of support, either from a professional or from your school counselor, to get that sense, right? The third bit is the cost, and it's something you can't ignore. I wish more parents were here, but just to kind of, before you finally select your college, you should know what your budget is. This is the broad budget zone that you are looking to be spending. Of course, this is the cost that includes your living and personal expenses. Now, personal expenses is, you don't never know. It's a little bit arguable what that may be, but broadly, this is the range of cost that you would. So before you select a country or a college, you must know, this is my budget. Can I spend that? And then make those choices, right? So that's your option number 3. But just to sort of take it on this, there are ways that you can finance your education also, by the ways and means of either a scholarship or financial aid, right? I'll define each of them. Scholarship is essentially merit-based. Students will typically, with high grades, high standardized testing, and for this SAT becomes very important, would be an auto select as far as your scholarships are concerned, or you do write in a separate essay, which we'll obviously assist you with. Financial aid, however, on the other hand, is need based, right? Which means you must be able to demonstrate a need for that funds, which means your family income, assets, net worth should reflect the need for that, right? And you must remember that for international students, all colleges barring 5 in the US are need aware, which means if you apply for financial aid, it reduces your chances of getting admitted, right? Therefore, you need to be pretty sure of how, what, where, when you do. You discussed with professional like us or your school counselor in terms of whether you'll be eligible for aid, how to go about it. It's not an easy process to get financial aid. However, we've worked with students in the past who've got that, right? So that's your financing bit. Moving on, the fourth bit, which is the what is your plan after college? This should also be an important factor to be kept in mind before you decide on a country, college, and make up that mind. Some of the things that you need to keep in mind are, do you want to do a master's or not? Do you want to immediately do a master's? Do you want to work for some times, or you're going to be happy with an undergrad and then join your family business or only work? How do you want to look at the work opportunities post that? Do you want to get a PR, which is, you want to immigrate and you become a permanent resident of a particular country? What is your plan to get an OPT, which I'll describe a little bit more? You might have heard of OPT, which is optional practical training. What does it really mean? And the last bit is, what is the fungibility? Fungibility basically means how acceptable is this degree in rest of the parts of the world. Like, for example, a US degree is universally acceptable, right? So is the case with a UK degree. But very often, let's say if you have to work in the US and you're studying from, let's say, Australia, that may or may not have a very high level of fungibility in the US. So I think you need to be sure of what your eventual career plans are and then look at the fungibility of that degree in rest of the world. So this is again important that you define your career plans after college and move in accordance with that. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. It's very clear.
Some of you might have a question on what is STEM, what is OPT. You might have heard of all of these terms. I'll try and elucidate those for you. OPT essentially stands for optional practical training, which is actually you get time post your undergrad or master's degree to work in the US on a student visa, right? Essentially, it means that, which in the case of US stands at 1 year for all students. Now, if you are a STEM major, basically, then you get 1 plus 2 more years to spend as a student visa. And at the end of 1 year, all students participate in a H1B visa lottery pool. Basically, you apply for a H1B visa or a work visa, which if you get in, then you get to stay back in the US. If you don't get in, you need to come back. And that lottery percentage is about 28 to 30%, right? Given that bit, if you're a STEM major, which means science, technology, engineering, or math, then you get 2 more years to get a shot at getting that lottery of the H1B, which is why a lot of students look out for a STEM major as one of the things. In Canada and Hong Kong, it's much easier to get a PR. You actually, pretty much all students who get a job will get a PR in the next 2 years. Hong Kong, you get a job and you get a PR almost immediately. So therefore, this is what should also be a factor in determining your college choices, right? I'll move on to a factor which I emphasize a lot in all my discussions with students, parents alike. Just don't go by the brand of the college. You got to spend 4 years of your life there in a city, country, which is remote for you, far away. Your parents are not with you. You don't want to be miserable just because the brand is 10% higher than the other, right? So what are the factors you should look at or identify the variables that are crucial to you in making a choice of fitment? When I say fitment, I essentially mean how much do you belong there? People essentially have choices. Oh, I don't fit into XYZ school. It's too snobbish. I fit in better here. They're my kind of people here. And when you're defining that in a college choice, some of the things other than the quality of the program, which I'm presuming will be good, you need to keep in mind, especially in the US, are these factors like size of college. Let me give you an example. So people are very keen to say that I want to go to UC Berkeley versus people saying I want to go to a small liberal arts college like Claremont McKenna. Just to give you a sense, UC Berkeley may have 50 1,000 people on campus. Claremont McKenna may have 2,000 or 2,500 people on campus, right? What defines you? What do you want? People who come from a small boarding school may resonate, it may resonate more with them. The size of the college is extremely important because it percolates to the size of the classroom. A lot of state schools in the US will have 600-700 students sitting in each class, whereas in some of the smaller schools, you may be 50 students to a class. Now, doesn't make the 50 the only correct option. You need to define, is this variable important for you? If important, how important? And then base your college choice on it. Similarly, US offers a lot of geographies to your college, right? You can be a part of a big city like New York, Boston, LA. You can be a little bit suburban, which is 30 minutes, 40 minutes from one of these cities. Or you could actually be in a rural setting, which is in the middle of nowhere, because that's the kind of geography that it is there, which means you could be in a Vermont, you could be in a Middlebury, somewhere else. You could be where the only thing in that town is one restaurant and this college, right? Are you okay with the rural setting? Do you prefer that? Do you want the huzz buzz of a big city? Identify that and then make your choice. Extremely important. You're going to spend 4 years. You don't want to be miserable if the big city rush doesn't work for you, or the other way around. Weather preferences. People undermine this saying that, listen, we'll adapt. But when you have to be in a Minnesota or a Chicago with minus 30, minus 40 for 5 months of the year, it's certainly not that easy to adapt if you're not used to it. Again, I'm not saying be extreme on the fact that I'll only go to tropical weather, or I only go to a cold weather. At least research enough. What are the weather conditions? Can you adapt to those and then make those choices? Now, these factors may seem very menial to you, but I have seen enough students in my past experience where students who have not sort of looked at these have actually repented their college decisions just because they chose a superior brand, or they decided because their friend is going there, right? The other thing, when I say research opportunities, I mean, what are you looking for in your academic experience? Are you looking for research? Are you looking for co-op programs? Are you looking for internships? Are you looking at just a good academic program? Identify those and then map it with the college that is being offered. Some colleges naturally offer you more research opportunities, but not every student wants to do research. They may want to do something more practical, right? So identify that and then map it with the options available. Safety, accessibility are big important concerns, especially in the new world order that has been defined by COVID. Oh, my child is a flight away because in case of emergencies, I want to have them back, versus let's say in the middle of somewhere, and then how long will it take? It takes 3 flights to get there. Is this region safe? Is there too much racism? There is gunshots, etc., etc. All of those and what your parents are more keen on as variables, please identify those and try and map those, right? A lot of parents, students also want, or maybe don't want, friends, families close by so that they can turn into them. Like some students don't want that because they don't want interference from family, friends. I understand that, right? So I think you need to define what is important for you, understand that, map it to all the college choices, discuss with your counselor, and then come out with that, right? Therefore, once you map these variables with the choices available, try and do some college visits if time permits, otherwise do virtual tours, and then decide the college. So in my mind, don't undermine this fitment bit. In if at all, this is one of the most important variables in identifying a college, right? Okay, so I'm moving on to a term which is not my usual favorite, but I suggest people do look at it, which is rankings. Where does my college really rank vis-a-vis the rest of the schools? Please validate the authenticity of the ranking. Very often, it's a mixed ranking between undergrad, postgrad. The metrics are different for domestic students, international students. Job options, what they may show, may not actually percolate because the visa restrictions come in. So just don't go blindly by that, but at least have a broad sense that you're not making a mistake by overlooking the rankings which you should have looked at, right? The last variable is research with alumni. The fact is, most of you go to premium schools where a lot of students, your seniors, would have gone to some of these colleges in the past. No matter how much research you do at the internet level or by looking at different things, the best inputs you will get is if you know somebody who's studying there, have conversations with them about the program, professors, weather, student life, excursions, attend alumni college seminars. We keep doing these seminars. In fact, we are doing one next Saturday, which is where we are doing a UK Canada panel, where some of our students who've gone to UK and Canada colleges are talking to students. Similarly, some liberal arts colleges, some bigger universities. So we keep doing that. There are many forums available like that otherwise also, like Reddit, College Confidential, College Kickstart, which gives experiences of students who've been to different colleges. And this research is also very critical because it'll give you those small inputs that you will not find on the internet in general, right? So these are all the variables that you should keep in mind and look at, sort of exploring before you decide what your college choice is going to be, right? So clearly college is an important 4 years of your life. You cannot afford for it to sort of just be a choice where you don't make it optimally. So make sure you work hard, get into a good college, and that good college is the one that you want to go to, not necessarily the best on your list. And that's how you can spend the best 4 years of your life. Right. So that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take on any questions either on the chat or like we did in the past. So, one second, what I can do in the past is people have actually sent queries later on mail as well. So if you guys would like, you can actually email queries as well. If there is anything on that, you can send me an email. Sorry, one second, this went. Just send me an email and I will try and address.
Sir, I'd just like to say thank you so much for the insightful presentation. I think I myself, I don't know about everyone else, but I feel very knowledgeable and informed about the whole college application process now. Your wise perspective has been extremely guiding for all of us. And I feel like you've inspired us with your informative words. So it was a delight to have you with us. Now our audience will be asking you some questions. Our audience, you can put them down in the chat box.
Yeah, somebody's written, when is the ideal time to give the SAT again? Is the first attempt doesn't go well? I think it's very important to map your testing for SAT with two factors: the testing dates and your school academic calendar, right? So your academic calendar will define when do you have exams, when do you have unit tests, because you need a good clean 3 weeks before your exam to give it a final push, right? So you should have that clarity. And then you should talk to people whom you're prepping with, because they know where your strengths lie, how long will you take to conquer those. So therefore map it with those two factors and then take a call. Manat has a question: do IB students have an edge when it comes to admissions to colleges in UK or US? My answer is an emphatic no. A lot of IB students wrongly believe that they have an edge to getting admissions. In the US, for sure not. UK, maybe. I'll come to that. But I think the bigger edge they have is in terms of having the course rigor that CBSE and ISC kids don't have, in terms of once it comes to that. But the bigger bit is the transition into that curriculum is a lot easier. So when you go there, you are required to do a multitude of courses. Just like in IB, you do 2 languages, a science, a social science. The same way your liberal arts curriculum encourages you to do that. So they already are aware of that process. So that transition is smoother. But in terms of getting admitted, I have some of my ISC and CBSE kid who get IBs as well. In fact, very often they may have more time available because IB is a harder curriculum that they can devote on other things. So I think UK, a little bit, they prefer the rigor of IB, although they don't say it. CBSE students also get offers from there. The top schools like Cambridge, Oxford prefer CBSE, prefer A levels or IB kids for sure. But there are ways to counteract that by taking AP exams. So CBSE and ISC students can take some AP exams to improve their rigor. But overall, Manam, no, they don't have a big edge over CBSE ISC kids. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I had a particular question. So, similar to the last question, in IB, you already are doing a lot like TOK, EE, PP, like personal project, and many other things that are already, set in the curriculum. They're embedded in the curriculum. But in CBSE, it's mostly academic. These things aren't there that much. You have to do them externally if you want. But in IB, all of these things are just present in the curriculum itself. So, I mean, relating to the edge part, don't you think that gives like some benefit to the IB
So
students?
it gives you a launch pad, but it also takes time. And the CBSE kids, because they have time, they can pursue other activities. See, just doing your extended essay or just doing your CAS hours is not enough to create a visible impact. You got to take the effort to stretch it. So let's say if you've done 10 hours of CAS on a particular activity in IB, if you really want to cultivate it, you'll actually have to take more initiative to take it forward and increase the scope of it, right? Which will again take time. And that you may not have that challenge. Yes, it gives you a launch pad because it forces you to engage in activities which a CBSE kid ordinarily doesn't. Therefore, if a CBSE kid has to really go to a top school, they have to work harder. But it's not necessary that an IB kid is at a huge advantage if the CBSE kid is already working as well.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much for clarifying. It's really helpful.
Cool. We could wait for another 2 minutes if people have any questions. Otherwise, we could sort of log off.
Sure, sir. Let's just wait. Thank you. So, sir, I feel like our audience has been, very well informed by your presentation. I don't think they have any questions left to ask because you've made it all very clear. The whole process and everything is a lot better to my understanding now. So, I'd just like to say it was an honor to have you with us today, and your discussion provided us like a different outlook on the topic. So, have a wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you, guys. Lovely meeting you. And thank you to Sia for having me over. I appreciate all the effort you guys have taken.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good
Have a
luck to
wonderful evening.
stress me.
Bye, sir. Hello, everyone. Hope you're well, safe, and healthy. Now we have a third speaker of the day, Mr. Ashish Kumar, with us. A very warm welcome, sir.
Good evening, Yashraj.
Good
I
evening,
hope the
sir.
entire team is doing well. And thank you so much for inviting me, having me here. When I got
Yes,
to
sir.
learn about the entire, yeah,
It's
please.
an honor to have you with us. Honestly, it's an honor. So, I'll tell you a bit about Mr. Ashish Kumar. He's an extremely talented founder of Tutela, and he's going to be joining us for a conversation around standardized testing. And he's kind of a test prep wizard for ACT, SAT, APs, and AMC. His unconventional approach towards international education has transformed the lives of over 2,000 aspiring students. He'll answer all your queries, so don't fear. Thank you for providing us your valuable time on this auspicious day, sir. We're delighted to have you.
Thank you so much, Yashraj. I'll start with two things. First, am I audible here?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. I have partially lost my voice throughout the classes I've been conducting since morning. So, time to time, I might need a couple of minutes of break. And second thing, with your permission, if I may share my screen, because I prepared a small presentation where we can first streamline all the data set, as in what all will be the talking points, and within a given section, what all particularly we will be emphasizing about.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you. Sir, you already have the rights. But before that, I'll just want to read out a set of instructions for our audience.
Sure.
If you have any questions, you can put them down in the chat box, and Mr. Ashish will answer them all towards the end. So, sir, you can proceed to presenting now.
Sure.
Thank you.
I hope my screen is visible. I'm not that familiar with Zoom. I usually use Meet.
No, sir,
So,
it's visible. Thank you.
perfect. So here at the event today, all the talking points we will be covering primarily is ACT, SAT, an overview and the importance, as in what this test constitute and Why is it needed? Along with that, we'll also be putting some emphasis on APs because these days I receive a lot of queries about APs. And yeah, definitely looking at the acceptances from a couple of years in past and all the students, what they have achieved, APs will be one of the concrete point, will be taking a bit longer to brief the entire audience upon. Beyond APs, a couple of changes have been declared about standardized test late last year, 2020, and beginning 2021. We'll also be briefly covering on those points, and then we'll shift to timeline. So, ideally when kids come to us or, kids come for suggestion, they are not well aware about how to do a given amount of work within a given amount of time. It cannot all be done in their entire 11th and 12th grade. Getting to do the entire academics, that is CBSE or ISC, or for that, say IBs, multiple subjects, it becomes very tough for them to manage it, condense it, and perform really well within it. So we will also be talking about what particular test can be accommodated on what grounds to what particular month or year or what grade. That point will get covered within timeline of standardized test. Lastly, I took liberty of adding in this point to let everyone know that Tutela is also open towards offering scholarships to students who are either need or can also claim on the basis of merit. We will start with ACT and SAT. First, the need. So you must have gone through, or right now you must be in either 9th or 10th grade or moving from 10th to 11th. You must have heard about many students getting into US colleges. So if you follow the statistics, that is the entire grade or the score which the students have with them as the profile while they're applying to the colleges, you'll get to learn that one of the most important key pillar is the standardized testing. Even though, last year, College Board and the entire UCs, they went ahead and declared test being optional for a few of the colleges. Having said that, that was primarily done for national students, talking about the American citizens. If you look into international acceptances, the data point says something else. Primarily because CBSE, ISC, IBs, APs, there are multiple curriculums available in India. And all of these students need to be compared on uniform ground. Also, as an academic component, if you notice on the grade boundary in 2020 and 21, you will notice the school score that more than 50 to 60% of the kids have started receiving score in the range of 80 to 90%, which was not the ratio before pandemic. And if you'll ask a teacher like me, I'll say 20, 30% of the kids are using unethical means to score well in their school internal exams. And definitely colleges they know it, they're aware about it, what's going around. To give a uniform comparative parameter to compare to the given student from a given school, given grade, having similar subject combinations and approximately the similar score kind, we just have one uniform parameter here, which is standardized testing. In terms of global data set, approximately 50% of the takers are for SAT and 50% for ACT. Somewhere around 50 lakh users appear for ACT and SAT annually. In the year 2020, this number took a toll, but again, 2021, we're back to track. Now, what is primary difference between the two? Qualitative aspect, we'll get into. Looking into the quantitative aspect of it, SAT has verbal and math section. Verbal, that is reading and writing. Number of questions and the duration has been given on screen. Either you can take screenshot of these if you're not aware. And I'm assuming primarily all of you attending the session over here, you must be knowing about these details already. In math, for SAT, we have calculator section, non-calculator section, with 20 and 38 being the number of question, respective time, and the score being given on the screen. Similarly, for ACT, you have English, math, reading and science sequentially to be the sections. English and reading together constitute ELA score, which gets compared to the verbal score of SAT. Math and science together constitute your STEM score, which gets compared to the math section of SAT. In terms of acceptances, none of the colleges globally will have any preference to a given test over the other. Both of these tests are equally acceptable, and both of these organizations, College Board and ACT.org, they release a concordance sheet with a gap of 4 to 5 years where the score gets compared from one to the other. So in terms of colleges looking at the score, there is no difference. In terms of your profile weightage, there is no difference whatsoever. The real difference between the test lies on the second screen. I would request everyone to take a screenshot of this section. It's very important. Try to read these questions. Try answering these questions for you. I'll take 2 minutes pause here. We'll give everyone opportunity to go through these questions and try to answer it for yourself. And then we will see the conclusion, how qualitatively these two tests are different than each other. Now, on the basis of your responses, let's see what the conclusion based on these questions we can derive. If the answers to most of your question lies towards left side, that means SAT will be a more preferred test for you. If the answers to most of the question lies towards the right side, that means ACT will be the most preferred test to you. Summing it up, SAT is a linguistic test where even for section, which is math, which has basically nothing to do with language primarily, the way we have seen it in our 8th, 9th, 10th grade, or for that, say 11th and 12th, even math section has deeper insights of language, or being good in language favors the section here. So if you are an avid reader, if you can read between the lines, if you love reading basically, if you're good in English language and literature, SAT will always be preferred there. ACT is more inclined towards time management. You have more number of questions in lesser amount of time. And the questions are pretty straightforward. So if you're quick in your approach, if you are good with data and analytics, looking at the trend, figuring out the equations, ACT will be more preferred test for you. In SAT, usually kids face difficulty in the reading section, which is same with the ACT. But if language is a hindrance for you, where you feel like you're always running out of time while reading a given paragraph, ACT will be easier, relatively easier test for you. To again sum it up in more condensed form, if we look into the data and trend, CBSE and ISC being the curriculum, primarily CBSE more inclined towards, ISC is kind of midway to the two. If CBSE is the curriculum, ACT is usually more preferred test. If ISC, equally biased here, and if IB, you will see kids being more inclined towards preparing for SAT. This is just to do with the entire curriculum and how it has been constructed. And again, pointing it out, there is no difference between the two tests in terms of college acceptance. From here, moving on to next segment. Now, how will you figure out which test you should appear for? Whatever we talked so far is just qualitative aspect, the difference between the two. To quantify it, we offer you entirely complimentary test, which you can find it at actversussat.com. You can go there, create an account, register with us, and just the basic details will be sought for: your name, your phone number, email address, parents' name, and phone number. That's all. Once you register, one of my team members will get in touch with you, take some basic details about requirement, and understand if SAT or ACT as a test is needed for you or not. Once approved, you will receive an email from our end, which will contain the detailed instruction of what to expect in this test, how are the sections fragmented, and an OTP, which you can use to appear for the test. This test is 3.5 hours long, which contains all the components of SAT and ACT fragmented to the minor details. Once you appear for this test, it will barely take us 24 hours to create a report for you where we'll be comparing the topics, subtopics to the minor details and help you take a call which test you should ideally go ahead with. Now, since we have covered the first segment talking about the difference between ACT and SAT, also how can you evaluate? And mentioning it again, this is a complimentary product. You don't need to pay anything to us for this part. APs. APs happens just once in a year, unlike other tests, which is ACT and SAT. ACT and SAT are more of language and math skill testing exam. APs are deeper diving into each of the science and math components, fragmented from as easy as a topic, which is environmental science or psychology, to going as deep as calculus BC or calculus AB in mathematics. This test happens just in the month of May every year, and you get 2 attempts to appear for it within the same month. This was before pandemic. During pandemic, College Board has given us 4 opportunities. Either you can appear for APs in the month of May, which is assessment 1 and 2, or month of June and July, respectively, for assessment 3 and assessment 4. You can select which assessment you need to appear for. This test happens over pen and paper at physical center and also over the digital mode, which can be taken at home. Having said that, the flow of content varies from digital to pen and paper. Pen and paper, usually for all the subjects, it consists of free response question and multiple choice question, whereas the digital testing from home, for a few subjects, it consists of FRQs and MCQs, free response and multiple choice. And for a few of the paper, it just consists of multiple choice questions, only fragmented in terms of its level of difficulty. Now, what is the importance of APs? If you're an IB, or for that say CBSE or ISC, you don't get to choose all the subjects of your choice. And there is a limitation in number of subjects which you can opt out for. Also talking about the rigor, these content does not show the deeper efficiency in a given component. For example, if I have to apply for physics as a major, just doing my 11th and 12th grade level of physics, be it for IB, or be it for ISC, or be it for CBSE, it's not sufficient amount of content. Whereas a subject like physics C mechanics or physics C E&M gives us deeper insight, makes us equipped to be able to handle the college level content, and also shows college how interested and how sincere we are towards applying for that given major. Same is true for subjects like Calculus BC. Calculus BC is the toughest possible AP out of the entire set of subjects. It is equivalent to 1 year worth of your college credit. So basically, if I'm planning to apply for math major, or for that say any of the engineering subject, and if I take Calculus BC as a subject, that is my AP, I will not have to appear for Calc 1 or Calc 2 as the subject in my college, and I can directly move into Calc 3 and save some time for additional subjects of my interest area. That is, you earn the college credit. In addition to that, many of the colleges, they have compulsion. That is, if you're applying for a given set of courses at a given colleges, which can be in UK and US both, It's a mandate to have certain number of APs and particularly certain APs in your profile for even being eligible to apply. So keeping that in mind, we have created this basic table content where course and the preferred APs have been given. Keep in mind, earlier, people used to consider AP to be a test which are increasingly taken by just ACT or SAT. Sorry, talking about APs being the tests which are taken primarily by CBSE or ISC test takers. But now looking into the acceptances in past, increasingly, even IB students are appearing for APs to show their strength. In IBs, you have limitation to appear for just 6 of the exams, out of which 3 are HL, 3 are SL. If you don't have a lot of extracurricular or sport to show for in your profile getting reported to the college will be purely academic. Keeping that in mind, just 6 subjects in IB is not sufficient to show you interest in STEM major primarily. So their AP comes into picture. Other than that, a couple of schools, they have limitation. For example, if you're preparing for computer science, you cannot take psychology. I don't know how these limitation, maybe the scheduling, maybe some other arrangement. I'm not aware about the schools working. But if so, definitely you can go for computer science special. And on place of group 3, you can just take econ, maybe the other subject of your interest area. And if you're applying to apply for psychology, you can appear for psychology AP separately. And you don't need to be part of any school. You can register independently for this exam. The application fee is somewhere closer to 18,000 INR, and you will be allowed to appear for this test. And you will get to show your psychology score along with all 6 of your IB subject and its score. Point to be kept in mind, while you are applying to the college, your predicted score is to show where can you actually reach if you keep on following the same trajectory from your 9 to 10 to 11th and to 12 midterm. But APs, once you have appeared for it, you have received your score, it's certain. That is, you have already scored. It's not a predicted score here. So again, in terms of academic certainty, APs are preferred higher. Now, if you broadly look into these subjects and those who are interested in these major, I would request you to take a screenshot of these. Maybe you can do your detailed research on these particular subjects. And if you want, you can just visit our website, tutelaprep.com, to get further details on each of these APs and its components. Again, on the next slide, we've covered engineering, history major, media, medicine, and theater. And these are the APs that would be preferred while you're applying for these courses. Before we move into all the details within these APs, I would just like to address one of the queries which we receive very frequently. Is AP a mandate? My answer is no. As a while back, even Nitin sir must have mentioned, your entire college profile constitutes of your school academics, your standardized test, extracurricular, social contribution, and your essays. Now, first 50% is your school academics. If you're doing good in primarily first school academics, then the next 30% is a standardized test, ACT or SAT. And now, if you are doing good in SAT and ACT, or your teacher, your test prep organization has indicated that your predicted score is 32 and above in ACT or 1400 above in SAT, then and only then it makes sense for you to even think about APs, because the course content are very rigorous. And giving you a comparison, Physics C, Mechanics and Physics C E&M is equivalent to preparing for IIT. Or for that sake, Calculus BC has everything from your school calculus with 40 to 50% additional content. Even the sequence and series, the topic like that has been covered. So we have briefly covered all the prerequisite for a given AP, what you need to already know, and what is the advantage, how is it correlated to your school academics? From the next slide onwards, I'll just quickly stop at a given slide. If you're interested, you can take the screenshot and I will move on to the next one. Here we have for calculus AB and BC, the prerequisite, when can you ideally appear? How much of time will it take for you to prepare with professional help? And if you're planning to prepare on your own, this time will just get multiplied by a factor of 2 approximately, depending upon how much content you have already covered. Advantages, we have related all the APs with IB, CBSE, and ISC content. So I would request you to take a screenshot of this content if you're interested to keep a track of these details. Moving on to physics 1 and 2. Physics C, mechanics and electricity and magnetism. Chemistry. Statistics. Biology. Microeconomics and macroeconomics. Some bullet points about which we have already had a discussion. Acceptances, mandate in terms of UK colleges, weightage to your profile, college credit, and the gap between the school grade, which I was talking about, the entire academic profile, and maybe not having extracurricular or sufficient extracurriculars. It will also give you a head start in terms of knowing the content of CBSE, ISC, 11th and 12th grade for that respective subject. Now, if you look into global trend, and this is one of the most important stats. In the year 2000, we barely had 12 lakh test taker globally for APs. In year 2020, this increased to approximately 55 lakh. And for 2021, they haven't published all the data set because administration 4 results are yet to be declared. But the number of test takers which are predicted from our organization, it's closer to 65 to 70 lakh globally. A test growing at this scale shows how important it is in terms of getting accepted or showing your skill in those given areas. A couple of examples which are in my mind, definitely I will not talk, I'll not be name specific, but I've seen students getting accepted with not having a lot of extracurricular, but IB subjects, 6 in number, along with 5 APs getting accepted in Cambridge. I've seen students not having any extracurricular with 4 to 5 APs and their regular ISC subject getting accepted into even Yale and Stanford. So these agenda based on course correlation, that is what major you're planning to apply, what all subject you have in current grade. This is further a deeper discussion, which can be handled. And if you want, you guys can reach out to us. Just register your query on our website and definitely we'll schedule a meeting and we'll get back to you on that particular detail. Now, so far, whatever we have talked about, you must have got a picture that APs are extremely tough. To quantify it for you, when you compare to the 11th and 12th grade rigor, that is a subject getting covered for 2 years, in comparison to that, AP is meant for the easiest subject you can do in just 2 months preparation and somewhere around 8 to 10 full and test. And the most difficult one will take you a maximum of 5 months and somewhere around 8 to 10 full and test again. And the easiest one I'm talking about is more of EVS and psychology. And the toughest one, talking about subjects like calculus BC, physics C, E&M, or physics C, mechanics. Sharing some insight, those who follow our Instagram page, you must have noticed the AP results have just been declared. Out of approximately 55 results which we have received so far, administration 1, 2, and 3, we have 54 and 5 scorer. And out of those 50, probably we must be having, and no, I've just missed on this count. My apologies for that. We have somewhere around 35 to 45 out of 5 score for all ranges of subjects. So looking at this data, and these are kids from your curriculum, CBSE, ISC, and IB, looking at these data sets, I can vouch for it. It is not so tough as it appears, but these are some testing which requires professional help. A couple of subjects definitely can be handled entirely on your own. So if you're planning to prepare for 4 to 5 APs, we recommend go for 2 to 3 maximum to be with professional help. 1 to 2 must be done just on your own. If anyone here feels like appearing for such APs, which you already know 50 to 60% of your content, allow us opportunity. We'll just conduct a diagnostic test for you. Based on that, if you're eligible to just work on your own, we will provide you all the resources starting from class notes to past papers to books, whatever required, all free of cost for your AP preparation. Moving into next slide. Changes. And a couple of changes I have already covered indirectly. So first one was talking about test option. But if you're an international student, forget this point. There is nothing called test optional for you. The competition bar is so high. If you don't have something extremely out of the box, talking about some project, some social contribution, which is a very rare. If you don't have something of that sort in your profile, and you're not already scoring 42 out of 42 in IB subjects, or for that, say, a 97, 98% predicted in your ISC, a 95% plus predicted in your CBSE, for you, taking standardized test is the way ahead. The second change was essay has been excluded. Now, I could not understand the agenda for excluding essay from the test, like they've entirely discontinued. There will not be any essay with SAT. Point to be noted, ACT is still conducting exam with optional essay. So definitely your college counselor will be a guide to comment whether you need to appear for the test with essay or without. If it's ACT, if it's SAT, there is no option to appear for essay. Subject SATs, which earlier used to happen in subjects like math level 1, math level 2, physics, biology, US history, world history, chemistry, subject SATs has entirely been scrapped. So beyond June 2021, there will not be any more subject SAT exams for either national or international students globally. Now, with subject SAT gone, earlier subject SAT used to be that parameter where you can show your strength, that you are interested in those particular subject areas. But now with subject SAT gone, there is extra, I would say, emphasis I would put on appearing for APs. Based on your area of interest, what major you're planning to apply, do appear for a couple of APs because the competition bar is very high when you look into international student data set. As I mentioned, the need for standardized tests and APs, online classes going on, and even you guys must be, frankly speaking, even you guys must be aware about that many of the students are using unfair means to score well in a given class. But your predicted will be constructed or given to you just on the basis of these exams. If in-person exams happen for your 12th grade midterm, well and good. If not, all the digital exam will constitute your predicted score. Now, somebody who has used unethical means throughout and got a predicted of, let's say, 90% plus, and someone who has ethically scored that, given range of score, according to college, if they don't look at standardized tests, there is no difference between the two. And based on my understanding, based on the data which I have collected and compared, colleges are not fools. Admission officers are not fools. They know what's going around. Based on our discussion with admission officers, they know the condition of this digital learning. And hence, again, an extra emphasis on standardized test. Now, ideal timeline. I'll show that using a diagrammatic representation here on the screen. You should ideally target PSAT if you are planning to appear for. If you're an Indian student, taking PSAT will serve no purpose other than familiarity of the content. That is, it will give you an experience of mini version or easier version of SAT, nothing other than that. If you're an American national, definitely national merit list will pull your score if you are lying in that score bound. Now, when you're moving from 9th to 10th grade, looking into the academic rigor, if you're lying in the top 10 percentile of your grade in terms of your score, it makes a lot of sense for you to take one of the easiest APs then when you are moving from 9th to 10th grade. This can be with a preparation, without preparation, depending upon how much of content you already know and how much of gap area need to be filled. Next steps comes in is start preparing for standardized test, SAT and ACT. Don't let grade decide which grade you are in. Don't let that part decide when you should start preparing for a given standardized test, SAT or ACT. Don't let your grade decide on that. These are skill-based tests. All the concepts which will be used in these exams, be it for English, reading, or for that, say, math and science, are primarily everything up till 10th grade. So you have already either covered or doing it in your class. So appear for the diagnostic test. Let your diagnostic score decide if you are equipped to appear for standardized test in 10th grade, be it like SAT or ACT, or not, or rather you should start it in 11th grade with some amount of work, additional work getting done on preparation. Now, ideally, beginning of 10th grade, you can get started with one of the standardized tests if you qualify in that diagnostic test score range. Preparation roughly takes, if you're lying in the sharp crowd, somewhere around 4 months to maximum of 8 months if done diligently. And you can keep additional 2 to 3 months of something going wrong, the scope of error margin. Maybe you need a break to prepare for your school exam. Maybe, something we experienced in terms of our health. Something going wrong, we need to keep a cushion of 2 to 3 months there. If you start at the beginning of 10th grade, by end of the 10th grade, you will be taken with the first attempt of your standardized test. And if you have managed the time really well, you can get done with even the second attempt, and entirely your standardized test can get wrapped up within your 10th grade itself. Once your SAT and ACT are out of the picture, either you're taking the first attempt or you have appeared for even the second attempt and you have a concrete score in hand, start preparing for 1 to 2 APs. Here, when you're moving from 10th grade to 11th, subjects like micro and macroeconomics, computer science, statistics, and if you're lying in the top tier crowd, that is top 5 or 2 percentile of your grade, even subjects like physics 1 and 2 will make a lot of sense. Now, when you're moving in 11th grade, if you're not already got done with standardized tests, your score were not an indicative measure if you should start or not, then this is the right time for you to kickstart your standardized test journey. Again, the preparation time will vary minimum of 4 to a maximum of 8 to 10 months, depending upon how much time you're spending into it. But in the worst case situation, you must have your standardized test score within your 11th grade and cannot get pushed on to 12th grade. Now, the time when you are moving from 11th grade to 12th grade, this is the actual, I would say, effort going into APs. The rigorous ones, subjects like Calculus BC, Calculus AB, Physics C mechanics, Physics C electricity and magnetism, chemistry and biology, those science-based subjects which require additional skills to get you equipped to score a 5 out of 5. These the subjects are placed when you are moving from 11th to 12th and can be appeared in the month of May while either you are in 12th grade or you're moving into 12th grade. And we recommend none of the standardized test or AP's engagement should get carried beyond May, June, July of your 12th grade. Because beyond that, your entire college application, essays, engagement will get started. And it will become extremely tough for you to manage standardized test as well as college application in that given span of time. Moving to the next, last slide. Appear for the diagnostic test on our website. If your scores are equipped, eligible for our scholarship, we'll require a certain set of documents from you. And when the criteria are met, we will offer Fulbright scholarship to 12 students, and we do this every year. Fulbright scholarship to 12 students and 50% waiver to additional 12. So in total, we have 24 positions available for scholarship. Do appear for this diagnostic test or reach out to us. You can log into tutelarprep.com for further details. Reach out to us and give us opportunity to serve you and take all your queries about standardized test. Beyond that, beyond this, I would be more than happy to take all the queries which you guys have, if any. Can I please request someone to take the lead of all the questionnaires here?
Yes, sir. I'll be taking the lead.
Sure.
Yes, sir. So, sir, firstly, I'd just like to begin with, you've explained very well, should I take the ACT or SAT on the personal needs? You've explained that very well. But what do you recommend? Do you recommend taking the PSAT? What about that?
See, as I mentioned, if you are an Indian national and if you have some additional time, just for the sake of familiarity, getting habitual to the standardized test format, you can appear for PSAT in 9th grade. Beyond that, it makes no sense for Indian students to appear for PSAT at all. Other than familiarity, it serves no purpose.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for answering that. Other than that, what do you think about the preparation for SAT and ACT? How can you excel in the preparation format?
Sure. Here I'll guide you, and I might take 5 minutes of your time here. So the preparation can be in two ways. Appear for the diagnostic test, and if your score is lying in the top tier, already doing well, you don't need to enroll for any test prep organization or any of the courses to enhance your score further. Resources are available online. You are smart enough to just a minute. Yeah. You are smart enough to have already scored a good score primarily in the diagnostic. You can figure out your error areas, make it a habit of creating error log, take more of practice drills. These are available on Crack ACT or Crack SAT for each ACT and SAT. Appear for these tasks, prepare an error log, and just start eliminating errors gradually. And you will reach to a perfect score just by this method. But if you do not have the top percentile score in your diagnostic test, it makes no sense for you to waste your time there. Because being in CBSE, ISC, or IB, you already have so many tasks going around. You can prepare standardized test, just on yourself without seeking in any professional help, but that might take 4 into the time which it would take with a professional. So evaluate that criteria, if this can be done or not, depending upon where you are starting, what is your target area, like what is the target score, what is the target university. Based on that, you can compare and take a call there. If you're going for a professional help like us, roughly as I mentioned, classes are held thrice per week for first 3 months, where we deliver all the content from scratch, considering you know nothing. Beyond that, we shift a student once we cover up all the content into sectional practices, which serves the purpose of a feedback loop, that is to figure out any gap area. If any, we reteach, redeliver. If not, we shift the student to full-length testing. Once we start getting a stable score in full-length testing, you are free to register and appear for this test. Additionally, there is one more segment of student who are dicey, who lies in the margin, as in they are very much, they don't want to go for a professional help, but they find it extremely tough on themselves to go under a guided learning system. For that, we have designed an online learning platform, which is adaptive and personalized. You can just reach our website, create an account, and go on our website, click on the sign-in page. You will see Tutelar OLP. OLP stands for Online Learning Platform. Create an account there. It's a free diagnostic test for ACT. And this platform right now is just for ACT. We're also launching soon for SATs and APs. Create an account, take the diagnostic test. Machine will automatically evaluate your weak areas and strong areas. And every time you are practicing on this portal, it is saving on data based on your practice habit, based on the content which you're experiencing, and making drills even more stronger for you. So it will start eliminating one error at a time and will give you extremely useful questions just depending upon what level you are standing and where we can or you want to reach to. So create an account there. Right now, we have kept it free of cost for first cycle, which will give you the entire experience. And if you would like to buy it, there is an option to purchase the entire platform for your users. You can just see the details there. So I hope, Yashraj, I've been able to answer all the three segments of a student, what they need to do in order to prepare.
Yes, sir, definitely. And you've also answered, like, evidently how, one diagnostic test will help me understand which one to take, and how, like, if you require SAT subject tests or AP exams, and which one you should take. So it's all very clear now. Thank you so much, sir. I'd just like to say, it was an honor to have you. Thank you so much for the informative and insightful presentation. And I feel like your wise perspective is like really guided all of us. And you've inspired all of us. So now
Thank
our
you so
audience,
much.
yes, sir. Now our audience will be asking you any questions that they may have around this topic.
Sure.
Audiences please feel free to write it down on the chat and sir will answer it. So, sir, I feel like you've made it so clear for all of us, and you've, informed us very well. I don't think there are any questions.
In
But
case if you come across any queries or you further want clarification on certain of the points handled today, just log into our website, register your query there. My team will reach out to you within 24 hours. We will answer your query in as detail as possible. And these are all services free of cost. Till the time you don't enroll with us, you don't have to pay us anything.
great, sir. Great. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, everyone.
It was an honor to have you with us, sir. Your discussion provided us like a different outlook on the topic. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Take care. Same to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Greetings, Ms. Rajie.
Hi.
So thank you so much for joining us today. Now we have our fourth speaker of the day, Ms. Rajie Shinde, ma'am, with us. And thank you so much. A very warm welcome to the event, ma'am. So Ms. Rajie is a Dada Saheb Phalke Film Foundation awardee, ex-CEO, Showbox and co-founder of PTC Network. And being a business head, ETC Punjabi of Z Group, she was instrumental in launching the first ever Punjabi channel world. And she's truly a prominent figure in the Punjabi film and music industry, with wide-ranging experience in leading businesses, entrepreneurship, revenue-based properties, and content. She has also launched the national music channel Showbox and is the co-founder of PTC Punjabi, PTC Chakde, and PTC News and PTC Gold. Made two Punjabi films, Disco Singh with Diljit Dosanjh and Zorawar with Yo-Yo Honey Singh. She also launched the first ever Punjabi Music and Film Awards. She's the ex-business head of ETC Punjabi of Z Group. And thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. We really appreciate your valuable time on this auspicious day.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. And I'm very glad and very proud of you guys that you are taking out time and organizing something which is not just going to be important for you, us, but your fellow students and people.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, as we all know, the entertainment, the music, and the acting industry, they're all very prominent and common these days. Everyone, every person you talk to, they, want to get into this industry. So, I think debunking the myths and, clearing out the air behind all these things will help our viewers a lot today. So, ma'am, firstly, I'd just like to start off by asking you, how
Yeah.
did you decide that you would like to work in the field of entertainment?
Well, I didn't exactly decide that I'm going to get into entertainment. But how I got into it and what I am today, or I would rather say that how you should have, how I got into making a career of my own. This is a small story that I would like to share with you. So this was when I passed out of 10th and I was supposed to go to grade 11th. So I did grade 11th and 12th in those days. It was in college in Chandigarh, and after that I was supposed to do my undergrad. So one day prior to my going to the college, my father said, I want to have a small word with you and let's discuss what's going to happen when you're going to college. So I said, yeah. So he started off with telling me that it's a new life that you're going to be having, and no more uniforms, school uniforms, there'll be guys liking you, like that. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay. So that's how he started off. And he said that you're going to have the best of the fun that you are going to have in college, unlike the school, and the freedom, and you must enjoy yourself. I just want you to keep one thing in mind, that after you finish your undergrad, which is 4 years down after the grade 12, 3 years of undergrad, I just want you to keep this in mind, that I'll give you 6 months post that, and post 6 months, I would want you to take care of your own self, take care of your expenses. Maybe 6 months to a year, I'll give you. So I was like, really? So, mind you guys, I had everything in life. I had all the luxuries in life, and I didn't have to ask for anything. And I was quite surprised that why is my father telling me that 5 years or 4 years down the line, I need to take care of my expenses? At that point of time, it just sounded a little unfair, but I said, fine, we'll see when we reach there. And that's exactly what happened. He put that thing in my mind, uh, that 5 years down the line, he's not going to take care of me. And I was the only child. And in those days, and also one thing which he told me was that choose the city that you wish to go. You're not going to stay in Chandigarh. You're not going to stay with us. And that's exactly that happened. So it was already put into my mind. And mind you, my father was very strict. So that's where it was there that I'm going to have my own career. I'm not going to be dependent on my parents. And once I finished my graduation, I moved to Delhi to pursue my dance, classical dance, because I was already a performer and I had already traveled abroad, had shows done in Mumbai and other cities of India. So I was practically already earning money, but that was just pocket money. I wasn't taking care of myself. And that's when it happened while I was doing my post graduation. I happened to see an ad of a television channel. So, because I was doing theater and I was already a part of that world, it just happened to me. And I joined one channel called Yes Channel in the programming department. And that's how my career started. I went on to joining a national TV channel called Home TV, which belonged to Hindustan Times. And post that, of course, I launched the first ever Punjabi channel in the country. So that's how my career in entertainment started.
Ma'am, I think that's a beautiful story of how, your father, he allowed you to gain freedom and find your own path. I think that's really beautiful. And it's very well expressed. I think it's a lesson that teenagers these days need to learn, self-independence and self-sufficiency that you've displayed over the years. I think that's wonderful. So, how did you grow your network at the beginning of your career? Because, as, part of the entertainment industry, you need to have a good network. So yeah.
So, at that point of time in career, and I would say that for everybody, when you are beginning of the career, network doesn't matter. What matters in life at that point of time is how you understand what you do, how many hours of hard work are you putting in, how much of passion are you, how passionate are you about your work. So those are the key things. I think that's what is very important. If you carve your path towards what you want to achieve, identifying what you want to do, and you put in your hard work and give yourself time, understand what you're doing, gain knowledge on your field, whatever field you are doing, in whatever field you are in, understand and gain knowledge, and network or people knowing you just happens. So, in the beginning of the career, that's very important. So networking, I didn't have to do any networking. It just happened that people know you, and the entire thing goes in because you are known for your work, your commitment, and your passion.
Yes, ma'am. So I think that's a very beautiful skill that you need to develop, the skill of finding beauty in your art, whatever you're doing. So
Yeah.
because there's a lot of misconceptions that without a network you can't grow, or like you need a network to grow. So I think you very clearly demystified that.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What are the certain skills according to you that are extremely important for this career? And how can young aspiring individuals develop those skills?
I feel I'll come to the entertainment part after. I want to explain one thing. The first part of your career or getting into anything is important, that you identify your destination. What is it? Where is it that you want to reach? What do you want to do? What's your aim in life? That's very important. What's your goal in life? Once you have identified your destination, you are the so it's very important in life for every individual to understand that you are responsible and you are the owner of your own life. You have been given a life by God. You've been sent here and you have a support system. You have a platform here. You have a support system in your family, your friends. But ultimately, you are the person who's responsible for what you do, how you carve your life out, identify your destination. You are your own GPS, your own navigator for your life to create that roadmap. It's you who has to do it. So, first, once you've done that, then you can. So, when I say identify your destination, or when I say that what is it that you're going to achieve in life, you have to how do I put it? You have to identify that what do you want? Do you want money? Do you want stability, work stability? Do you want fame? Do you want name and fame, money and fame? What is it that you want? So once you're clear about that, then you can carve your path very easy. There will be obstacles, but it's easy. Coming to the next part of entertainment, I would say, is like a solar system where there are different planets. So you have to identify that in entertainment, what are you going to do or what do you want to do? So, for example, in entertainment, it's huge. Media, television is entertainment. There's radio, there's digital, there's music, there is films. So, once you identify where do you want to go out of all this, then comes the tough part, that so for example, if you want to go in films, what do you want to do? Do you want to be behind the scenes or do you want to be in the front? Do you want to be a director or you want to be an actor? Similarly, it goes for television. Do you want to be in news or entertainment? Do you want to be a journalist or you want to be behind the scenes? You don't want to do any reporting. Similarly, it goes for entertainment, television. What do you want to do? Do you want to write shows? Do you want to create shows? You want to be a director or you want to be a part of a TV channel, identifying concepts and all that. Then comes radio. You want to be a radio jockey or you want to work or create shows. Films, music, you want to be a singer or you want to be creating music as a music director or you want to be a video director. So entertainment is very vast. So once you've identified all these things, then you have to identify the parts, the different planets of entertainment, and then take a decision. Okay, here I want to do this, and I enhance my skill, or I take training, or I take education on that. So I feel that's the way to go about it.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's beautifully expressed by you. I think first you need to identify, and then analyze all the details and all the aspects. So I think that's wonderfully expressed.
Yeah.
Then furthermore, something you feel that the young audience need to think about if they're looking to enter the field of performing arts. So what is one piece of advice that you'd like to give them?
I would say that rather it just doesn't go for performing arts, it goes for every career. Just be passionate about whatever you're doing. Hard work, it's very important. Don't leave things in between, and also ensure that you enhance yourself at every point in life. Take proper education about it, understand the field, get any kind of knowledge, and work hard. So if you are a passionate person and hardworking, you're going to achieve it. So this goes for any skill, any performing art, or any field, I feel.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's very well said. I think, if you're determined and if you're disciplined, so
Yeah.
then you can, of course, achieve anything.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, particularly for teenagers, how do you think, like, what should they do to like explore themselves and their interests more? Like sometimes as a teenager, it can be pretty, I feel challenging, to guide yourself on this path. So, what is, one way that they can make it easier?
See, I think we all know inside what do we want in life. It's very important. So for example, if somebody says that I want to get into media. Now, media, again, like I said, entertainment is like a solar system, and there are too many planets there, so many planets there. So identify in media, what do you want to do? Do you want to be in front of the camera, or you want to be behind the camera? Once you've achieved that, do you want to be famous? How famous do you want to be? Do you want to be a Shah Rukh Khan, or do you want to be a director? After that, once you've identified that, then you start exploring. Okay, the best thing would be in media, go explore everything. Do it. You have the time, you have the energy to explore, do internships, take up internships, take workshops, do it. All this while you are studying, this is your time. This is whatever you can do today to enhance yourself for the next 10 years. Do that. Once you've done that, by the end of, for example, by the time you get over with your undergrad, or when you get over with grade 12th, if you have done a lot of workshops, internships, read a lot, I'm sure you would reach a place where you can understand that, okay, what do I want? I got into radio, but I don't like it. I want to be in front of the camera. Don't want to go to I don't want to be a radio jockey. I want to be in front of the camera, and I want to be an anchor. So these, you'll have to work hard towards about it. You have to study. You guys have all the opportunity in this world today, that you have internet, you can go there, and we never had that, but we still came so far. So I feel that if you guys give some time to this and identify what you want to do, it'll be easier.
Sure, ma'am. I think that's very true. What has been your biggest learning on this journey? If you state.
I would say hard work pays always. That's what I believe in. It does not matter when success comes to you, when money comes to you, but hard work and understanding your business and growing your knowledge uh, is very important. And accepting what your flaws are and working on them, it's very important. I mean, I might be a CEO, but I would learn so much from my interns or the people today. So hard work always pays, no matter, it might take time, doesn't matter, but hard work, passion, and understanding your business, very important.
Yes, ma'am. And I think understanding your business and being passionate about it is the most important thing. Because if you're not passionate about something, then of course you won't, feel inclined towards it.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I feel like, you've become the best version of yourself from where you were and where you're now.
Yeah.
So, do you think that self-care and like self-development play a huge role in that?
Oh yes, and for I feel, and this is something which I would like to share, that all the students or the teenagers who are there, this is your time. Nobody should be able to take that. So it's your time to enhance your skills, make most of whatever you have got today. Be selfish about your own self. Take care of yourself. Take care of your looks. Take care of your health. Take care of your education, whatever you can get from anybody, your knowledge. Just concentrate on yourself. And at the same time, you must enjoy, have fun. But whenever there is a dilemma about that I am supposed to go here having fun and here this is my work, just at that point of time, just ask that question. Nobody should tell you this is right for you and this is not right for you. Just ask yourself that question. Is this good for me, or this? I can party tomorrow, but if I leave this, is this gonna be good for me or no? But that does not mean that you guys don't enjoy yourself. So you are in command of yourself. You are the navigator of your life. You are the GPS of your life. So you take control of it and take care of everything about yourself. Pay attention to yourself. That's all I
Yes,
would.
ma'am. Definitely. And paying attention to your thoughts and, where they're more inclined towards.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, what would you suggest? What if, someone feels very lost in their career path? So, any suggestions for that?
See, it's a very generic thing to say somebody feels lost in the career path. You have to identify which stage are you in, where are you, what is confusing you, and then whatever field you are confused about, talk to people. God has given you an amazing support system, which is your family, which we all take for granted. you know we take it for granted that no, it's okay, it's fine, but they are not. Your family is never going to be there for you forever. They are one people who will not be there when you would be wherever you would be. So take help of theirs, discuss with them whatever career you are in or you want to take. Whoever the people are, you can identify, speak to them. That all depends on, again, at what stage of career are you in.
Yes, ma'am. I think, analyzing what stage you're on will help you a lot.
Yeah.
And ma'am, I just, like to ask you one more thing. How
Yeah.
about, finding an agent? What age can you start to, find an agent for whichever art that you want to pursue?
Agent, sorry, I just pressed the
Yeah, like a talent agent, a talent manager, like a talent agent.
talent manager in what field?
So, if we're looking at acting, for example,
Hmm.
if someone wants to pursue acting, what is the right age to look into getting in manager?
I would say finish your graduation at least, get those education skills, because I'll tell you what, when you become 20, 21 years old, you've seen, so in school you are protected. When you go to college, there are 3 years of college where you have all the freedom, you interact with different people, those people react with you, you know how the outer world is. Once you've finished your graduation, get a portfolio made of yourself. There are agencies, well, you can come to me, I can help you too. There are agencies which are there, and then you can contact them. They are agencies in Delhi, they are called model agencies as well. So one way is to directly contact the talent agencies in Mumbai, which have directors. There's Anupam Kher's agency also, who gives platform to new actors. There is Whistling Woods, which does that in Mumbai. So there are various agencies. But most important thing is finish your graduation. That's very important. Before that, it doesn't make sense, because you wouldn't have understood the world. You wouldn't have understood how people would react to you, how they would take you, or how would you be able to take mature decisions in life. So post your graduation, that's the best time to get into any field for that matter.
So, ma'am, you should never give up your education just for a specific, career path. So you should never like rely on, fully on like a performing art, but you should finish your education first, like fully educate yourself, and then maybe think about it. Isn't that right?
I don't say this that you cannot rely, but uh, education is one of the most important things because it just does not teaches us a lot of things, but it grows our mind. It makes us more responsible. It makes us more mature. And that time period from your grade 12th to your undergraduation is the most volatile time. That's the time which is very, very important. You can go this way or that way. So education is a part of life. I'm never able to understand this doubt about you can keep pursuing, you can take acting classes, you can take singing classes, you can keep pursuing that hobby which will become your career, you know, but you cannot replace education. You cannot, and you should not be, because I have seen so many artists, personalities who are unable to handle their finances or take decisions in a mature way or interact with people in a mature fashion because they got into this quite young and they are not even graduates or they wouldn't have finished their grade 12th or high school and all. So I would not advise that at all. And I don't think it should ever be replaced with any career for that matter.
So,
That's
ma'am, yes, you very rightly stated that education can never be replaced for any student. And I feel like it's one of the most essential things in life. It's like an essential part of your life. And
yeah.
if you have access to it, then it's a privilege, isn't it?
Yes, of course. I mean, I believe that there are a lot of people who want education who don't have the luxuries, but you guys, everybody else who's privileged should value that. You should be able. There are people who study under lampposts or who crave for education, but they don't have the money to do it. So I think that's very important.
Yes, ma'am. So any experience in particular, like any single experience that you've, had over these years that has made you into who you are? Any specific event or, experience?
I think one of my very important thing was that story which I told you about my father being super strict about the fact that I have to take care of my expenses after I finish my graduation. So that was the starting point in my life where, even my mother couldn't do anything. My dad was very serious about it. So that was the first. The second thing, there isn't a single, but that seed was put in my mind, and then from there on I always wanted to be independent, you know. So that was the key thing. And the other thing is that whatever I am today and whatever I have achieved, apart from hard work and being passionate about it, working from 12 to 24 hours or maybe more than 24 hours, I would not have been able to do this without my support system, which is my family. If they would not have been supportive about it and would not have been proud of what I'm doing, I wouldn't have been able to achieve. So I think uh, God, of course, without God, my life, I wouldn't have done anything. His blessings. So hard work, passion, family, support system, those are the things I think which have made me what I am today. There isn't any doubt about that.
Yes, ma'am, that's very true. Also, ma'am, I don't know if this is like a very clear question, but
Yeah.
what all subjects do you think you apply most in your life? Like many people say that, oh, you don't need maths as an actor, but what do you feel the importance? Like, do you apply maths? And what all subjects do you apply in your everyday life?
See, I think as students, you need to realize finance is a very important part of your life. So I feel till grade 12th, when you guys are doing maths, it's fine. After that, there comes undergraduation is an step forward or a stepping stone for what you want to do 3 years down the line. So that's where you can choose whether you want economics or commerce to be a part of it because you've done that. But ideally, I just feel that if it is a part of your subjects, it will only help you, even if you want to go into arts and all. But if you don't want to do it, then I think you can take up business management and make that as a part of your studies in undergrad.
Definitely, ma'am. Do you have any experience with other form of arts like music? Of course, you have it with dance and acting. We all know that. But have you ever like tried to explore another aspect?
Well, I had music as a subject, and I was I did well in that. But I regret I didn't pursue that. I wish I would have. I have my music labels. I could have launched myself and launched my dear friends as well, who really are passionate about singing. But yeah, I wish I had pursued singing very well. I mean, I would love to do that. But apart from that, no, I think singing is one thing which I would have loved to continue. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Oftentimes we have priorities and then we have lower priorities.
Yeah.
So, I think you classified the priorities aspect pretty well. And for a younger audience, for, the people who are just starting out, for maybe children who are like 6 or 7 years old, what would you think? When is the right age to, start acting? And when is the right age to, start looking into workshops and different directors to work with?
I think 6 and 7 is too small, right? I would not pressurize that beautiful childhood with unless somebody really wants to do something, whether it's music, dance, acting, or anything. It's too small. And as it is these days, children are burdened with watching something and doing all this. So I think it's a sweet childhood. We should not get into anything like that. It's only when you get an indication that I want to pursue something, that's where you start taking coaching. You start take coaching in that. Otherwise, I don't think. And if you once you have identified or you feel you are passionate about this, what you could do is that whether it's grade 10th or before that, whenever you feel, that's on each individual basis. I would not be able to tell you that, and I would not even force anybody to do it. I mean, I don't mind parents putting their kids into various activities, but I still, it's good. You should have the knowledge. You should know how to swim. You should know how to play some sports. It's always nice. I always tell people that if you can take singing or acting as this thing, do it, but only if you like it and enjoy it. Don't force yourself to do it. Maybe swimming and some sports should be a part of it, definitely, but and maybe singing as well. But apart from that, no, don't burden yourself till you actually feel like doing it.
So, ma'am, you get that sign and that inner feeling on its own. So that comes, as you age and as you grow. So you should always follow your heart. I think that's the most beautiful lesson. So, ma'am, it was an honor to have you with us today. Any concluding words that you'd like to, inspire our audience with? You've already inspired us a lot, but anything in particular?
I would just like to say one thing. You guys have everything in life. Just value it and don't take it for granted. And please, please, when I say hard work and I say think about yourself, seriously think about yourself. Take care of yourself. God has given you a beautiful life. Take care of your health, your looks, how you look, how you talk, how you groom yourself. Just take care of yourself. And if you start thinking about yourself, your life would be so beautiful. That's all.
Yes, ma'am. So I think prioritizing yourself and like focusing on the positivity of your own self, that's very important. So thank you so much, Ms. Rajie. Your wise perspective has been extremely guiding for all of us. And I feel so uplifted, so inspired by your informative words. It was a delight to have you with us. Now, our audience